All right, welcome to Money Matters. In this new season, initially the idea was to interview people, entrepreneurs, and it was to connect you guys to different people that are doing amazing things out there. But now, all these seasons, these previous seasons, I've had so many questions, I've had so much feedback that some seasons were just based on responding to those feedbacks, and I'm pretty sure you guys, you understand mostly my journey and everything, so I don't have to keep talking about my journey. I don't have to keep talking about one thing over and over and over again. So our first guest, his name is Mojalefa Mofokeng. He's been in our community for a while now. He's an entrepreneur, he's an investor. He's become part of our, especially my journey, I must say, because there was a period when he invested in one of my companies and became a partner, and we ventured out into different things together. So it's a privilege to have him on the podcast. We're just going to have a conversation about money. I mean, this show is called Money Matters, so we discuss all things money. We discuss, young people's grievances or challenges, and then we just try to share, to talk about our shared experiences, to help and to reach as many people as we can, and to basically make our conversations meaningful and impactful. We try to add value in these conversations. So without any further ado, Mjalef, welcome about.
Thank you, man.
So we're going to talk about a little bit about his journey, and then we can start having just a general conversation, because it's important to have these kind of conversations, just to empower people. I mean, we come from a long history of, I don't want it to be political, to sound political, but we come from a history of not being empowered. People are not empowered to be entrepreneurs. They're not empowered to run businesses. They're not empowered to run sustainable businesses, and it's a challenge. It's a challenge in our community, and it's a challenge that we have to go past. We have to, at some point, we have to understand how these complex systems work and how we can innovate going forward and hopefully move forward as a community. So your journey, my brother, tell me, tell me from the very beginning. Let's start from the very beginning. When were you born? How did you pick up this entrepreneurship thing? School, everything. Like, just tell me about your journey.
My journey when it comes to entrepreneurship, it started naturally, really. It came naturally. I didn't plan for it. I just started with, I'm in the agricultural industry.
Mm-hmm.
So it just started naturally. Like planting normally, just you plant, you do all those things, but the more you read books about entrepreneurship and then you plant, somehow it developed from there. Yeah.
So now, where did you grow up? Do you recall maybe from age 0 to 5 years, for example, what was happening in your life, and from there, like because we want to capture the whole journey, so that we can get to where you are now.
Well, from age 0 to 5, I would be lying if I told you that I remember what was happening then. I would be lying. But I grew up in South Africa, in a province called Free State,
Mm-hmm.
in the Eastern Free State of the Free State province,
Mm-hmm.
in a place called Blood.
That's important.
Yeah.
And studying and has school always been a thing, or like that journey? Take us through that journey.
Schooling, you have to go to school, bro. Like, whether you like it or not, you have to go to school, um, gain knowledge, obviously, gain knowledge about, different industries and what's out there, what you can do out there. Um, yeah, I think that's what I can say. But yeah, that's what I can say. Yeah.
And then did you, obviously you said entrepreneurship came naturally, but did you always know it's going to be agriculture, or like it was like, why that specific industry?
Well, I think I'm not sure. With agriculture, I've always loved the thought of livestock. You know, um, even while I was growing up, man, I wanted to buy a livestock for myself, and for some reason, I guess the love for having livestock and crop farming began. Although all those things, um, they came together, right? Yeah, all those things came together, and yeah, and now I found.
There's this perception that people that have livestock are very rich. Is this true?
Well, you have to look at that perception from different views, right? From different views, isn't it? Livestock, people use livestock as some sort of a bank to park their money, right? And then others use livestock to farm to make money, not necessarily to park their money. So I think, from my view, you can see it as people who have livestock are rich, but in a different way, because of you spend more money than the money you make. Because you buy medicine, you buy this. If you don't take care of your livestock, obviously you lose. But if you take care of your livestock, then you gain. It works like that. So yeah, I would say people who have livestock have money, but their spending sheet, yeah, it's very ugly. Yeah.
So, in case you guys don't know, I'm also from Free State, from Kwakwa. So, some of the things Amjalfa is saying, I can relate to them. I understand them. But initially, when I was young, I thought, because I would see, right? I would see a lot of people with, like, for example, we have someone down the street who has 100 cows, but somehow this person looks like they're suffering. And it's like, but you have all these things, like, why not just sell them? Like, you know,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's not as simple as that. Like, it's not like you have 100 cows.
But
Yeah.
let me intervene. You have
Yeah.
to look at it from different viewpoints, right? There's people that have livestock for personal wealth, right? Like, they keep that livestock for themselves. They don't they slaughter when they have to, then they use them for milk, but not commercial. Milk from maybe a personal perspective, not commercial. But there's other people that have maybe 40 cows and they use them for commercial purposes. They milk them for commercial purposes. They make money from a commercial perspective, not from a small-minded perspective. So, in other words, farming or livestock farming, it's a two-way street, depending on how you look at it. Isn't it? There are people that have cows, they use their cows to plow their land. And then there's others that find ways to sell their cows, buy tractors, plow their land. It's the same process, but different ways to do the same thing.
And this is a lesson also. I think I have to add on to what Mjafa is saying. This is a lesson to me, right? Like, I'm not deep knee into agriculture, but from what he's saying, because of how I'm, like, my specialty is finance, and I see things in financial ways, right? I see things in financial terms, like what you just said now. This screams to me to say it's very important to have assets. These things are assets, right? It's the same as if I
But
was,
you have to remember when talking to a farmer or person who farms, they don't see them as assets.
yeah, because they're livestock.
They
But for
don't see
me,
them as assets.
in my
When
view,
you say they're
yeah,
assets,
yeah.
it's like
No,
it's
remember,
like you're
yeah.
saying, dude, what are you doing? Those things are cows.
Yeah. No, remember I speak from finance, so everything is assets, liabilities, cash flow. I speak from financial perspective, investment perspective, and property. So it's like everything in my head is organized in that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, let me finish my point. So what I was trying to say is like there are assets in a sense of like it's important to have, like in property we have this thing of when you buy a building, right? The reason why it can cash flow is because it's a tangible asset. It's very different from like a financial instrument where you have financial assets. Like this one is tangible, you can see it, you have to feed it, you have to grow it, you have to, and then it increases in value over time, I suppose, should you sell it if you are in the commercial space.
And if you choose not to sell
even
it,
if you choose not to sell it, it's still
it can
valuable.
reproduce and still grow in value. The more it adds,
exactly.
the more money you have.
So it's a lesson for anyone that doesn't know about assets. They don't have to be anything financial. It can be agriculture, like Mojalefa is doing. He's doing amazing things in agriculture, and it just shows you that if you have assets, you can, benefit in the long term. I'm just wondering what kind of challenges.
But you must bear in mind that assets come with their own specific forms of risks.
Yeah.
Livestock has its own risks. Like
it's the same thing. Yeah.
Like you have to bear in mind that livestock comes with diseases. It's another risk. You can lose your livestock maybe due to diseases. Maybe, I'm not sure. You can lose your livestock maybe due to
natural disasters,
lightning maybe, or snow.
Yeah.
Or snow, or flooding. All of them, all these assets or different types of assets, they all come with their own forms of risks.
So how do you navigate your way through all of that? Like, for example, with the challenges that you just mentioned, because again, in finance, there's a way to work around risk versus reward ratio. Like you can work around, you can say, okay, there's an asset, there's a stock. There's a stock that I'm going to invest in, but I'm going to do my due diligence, right? I'm going to find out what this particular company does, what they're planning. I can literally use a blueprint to break down that one company and then find out, based on evidence, where this company is going to be in the next 10 years. And based on that, the risk that I'm going to take in that company, I can predict my return on investment 10 years from now, as opposed to, you know what I mean? Like, you can move like that. But I'm wondering, is it the same in agriculture? Like, can you, because now these are huge challenges. Okay. Like, if I'm going to wake up, for example.
Let me tell you what I do.
Yeah.
For me, what I do is I use a similar pattern with due diligence, right? Usually you ask seasoned farmers. You ask seasoned farmers their challenges, you write them down, right? And then some of their challenges, obviously, you can predict them because maybe they happen on a yearly basis. And then you have to find ways with your livestock how to, I guess, prevent some of the challenges. You can't prevent all of them. There will be others that will come a nightmare to you, but there's others you can prevent. There's others you can prevent. Unless you're lazy, you want to see what will happen to your livestock, then no problem. You lose. Or you can find ways to prevent those that you can prevent.
So one of the things that I'm currently dealing with, right, like with the age that I am now, I'm in my 30s, right? Early 30s, and you are in your 20s, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I'm dealing with now, as an investor, just as yourself, right? As an investor, I'm starting to not like risk. Not like I'm very risk averse. Like I don't, that concept of saying don't lose money and never forget. Like rule number one, don't lose money, and rule number two, don't forget rule number one. Like I'm very risk averse at this point, because I'm sure it's pretty much because of having responsibilities. When you have a wife, you have kids and whatever, you're very risk averse to how you move. So now, to me, right, what you just said now, to me it's like, okay, I can have livestock, right, or I can have plants, right, in agriculture, right. But now, the challenges that I'm going to deal with in finance, I can cap it to say, this is how much I want to lose should this thing go sideways.
Yeah.
If you are saying the challenges is like natural disasters, snow, it seems like it's things that can kill my business overnight. And I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. I don't know if I would be okay with, like, 1 minute I have, like, for example, I know in the neighborhood, there's something that happened a couple of months ago where, unfortunately, this is very sad, because I don't know how many livestock this person had, right? And then I don't know what happened. Maybe they got sick, like you said, maybe it's disease or whatever. But almost 300 or 500 of them died in one go.
Did you also know that snow can kill a full cow?
I didn't know this.
Snow can kill, like literal kill.
So now, how do I make sure that first there's not too much snow that can kill? You know what I mean? Like, how do I move in a way that's not gonna completely wipe me out? Because this sounds like it can wipe you out. Like and I suppose if you're not smart enough, like if I'm not saying other people are not smart, but I just mean, like, if you're not aware and this natural thing happens, or this act of God happens, like, you have to find a way to recuperate your losses. Like, how do you?
That's what I'm saying.
How
like,
do you?
In the agricultural industry, whether you're doing crop farming or you're doing livestock, it's about strategies. You must always have strategies all the time. It's not about farming for the sake of farming. It's about you farm so you make profit. But between farming or planting or your input and your output, the strategies in the middle.
Like what kind of strategies, if you don't mind touching on?
Really, with livestock, it's more about shelter.
Okay.
In cases whereby you have snow. Not that every year you will have snow, but
in case
it happens.
Yeah.
It happens. You might be unlucky. Then there's snow. You lose all your livestock due to snow. But in cases where there's snow, at least okay, my livestock is safe. And then there's vaccines. Right? Vaccines are also very, very important. Even though for me, at the moment, I don't buy every vaccine. Those things are expensive. Others cost $400, others 200, others 300, others 1.5. They're all expensive. No farmer enjoys buying non-stop. You buy. You see. So I buy what I think is necessary. I buy what I think is necessary. If I can produce maybe a deworm, a natural deworm, I produce a natural deworm.
Yourself?
Yeah, there's natural herbs you can use to make
And then,
a deworm.
is that not a challenge? Like, let's say, should you consider selling these things? I'd imagine there's a checklist. Like, if, let's say, for example, another farmer or or anyone really, let's say the general population wants to buy one of your cows or something, right? Is there a checklist to say, wait,
No,
this is a healthy cow, this is what
finish.
makes a healthy cow?
Let me finish.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to strategies in crop farming, for example, or preventative ways to prevent risk, things that might make it impossible for you to make income. You can use modern ways of farming like greenhouse. You can use those nets. You can use nets to farm. You can use, what is this thing? I think it's not aquaponic. They call it, there's different names around this thing of agriculture. Yeah, I think it's aquaponic. No, not aquaponic. Aquaponic is more like fish farming.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's another form of farming. This are different names, right? Different names, but it's a modern way of farming. Really, it's more like utilizing a small space to its fullest capacity, using water to farm. Just water, no soil, just water. So, yeah, you've come up with different ways, man. Just to reduce your risk, not necessarily to get rid of the problem completely. You just reduce the risk.
Now the customers, how it comes back to the point that I was saying, with all these things and with all these procedures, with all these operations that you have to do to make sure that these let's say livestock is very healthy and very desirable to the market. Like, how does the customer check to say, like, okay, this is what makes a healthy cow, this is, when you're buying a cow, this is what you look for? Like, are these, or it's just, oh yes, cows, let's buy them, we need them for, like, for example, I'm Zulu, so we're very traditional, we're culture orientated, and whenever we have a celebration, or whenever we're doing something like appeasing, to ancestors or to God, like, we always use farmers like yourself. We always buy from farmers like yourself. So how do people firstly know what goes into taking care of these things, and also is the reward, does it compensate these risks, or these ways of taking care of these things and making them valuable over time? Like, for example, if I come and buy 15,000 rand, which is the general price, I'd imagine, of a cow, one cow, right? Is 15,000 rand enough if you've raised this cow from, because now you like vaccination, all these things that are expensive? Does that price factor in everything that you've done, and does it compensate
all your input costs?
Yeah, does it equate, or it's like?
Okay, so from my experience, I look at it from, like right now the price of a sheep ranges maybe from 1.8 going upwards, depending on the breed of the sheep, right? So I sell my sheep for around 2.3. According to me, like, I think 2.3 is a normal price, because I have to look at the vaccines that I buy. I have to look at the maintenance. I have to look at aspects such as their safety, because you have to upgrade in terms of safety, their safety, their protection all the time. So, yeah, I look at such things. And 2.3 for me, it's
not costing factors in everything.
Yeah. It's a good start. It's not that bad, but it's a good start.
But does it give you enough profit to keep selling it for 2.3?
I haven't figured that out yet. How do you make enough profit from 2.3? I haven't figured that out.
Yeah. Because, like...
But it's a good start.
Yeah. Because now, like, if I were to fully go
But
into
my
agriculture,
understanding,
right? Yeah.
if you want to make, good profit, it's about focusing on the breed, the breed of sheep. There's, you know, there's merino sheeps, right, which can be found anywhere really. And then there's commercial breeds, like commercial breeds, the expensive ones. Maybe per sheep can be around 5,000. I think there you can make more money.
Because with the type of investor that I am, like with venture capitalists, it's more like if I were to go fully into agriculture, I would need to know the numbers versus the kind of breed of sheep. Like I don't even know the type of breed of sheep, but like you say now, maybe I'd have to buy a merino sheep, is more expensive than I wouldn't know that, but I would just want to see. Okay, so if I put this much, how much am I getting out in 3 years?
No.
And what are the risks?
I think what you would have to do is you buy maybe 6 different breeds of sheep, and you sell all of them.
Okay.
Separately, and then you look at how much money they make. That's how you know which one is a good investment, which one is not. But you have to look at the market. Which breed of sheep prices the market prefers more than the other. Because they're all different, but they're all sheep.
So is innovation not hard then? Because is innovation not hard in that space? Like for example, if you had to, if let's say for example one breed of sheep is selling in the market and it's working, when they say if it's working, don't break. I mean, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Like this type of breed of sheep is selling in the market, but I want to be innovative. I want to, I don't know, sell different kind of sheep. Does that mean I'm going to fail because the market prefers a certain type? Like, how do I innovate my way through agriculture? Like, how do I know you're dealing with plants, vegetables and what, and then livestock, but how do I become innovative? How do I, not that I would be fully into agriculture because it's not my specialty, but as an investor, maybe I would want to know, like, how do you become different in that space so that you stand out as a farmer, as opposed to looking at, oh, Java is a farmer, or this one is a farmer. It's the same thing. Like, how would you?
Okay, from my view, my personal view and perspective, I think you have to focus on what you do best.
Okay.
Right? Because you might find that all farmers are doing the same thing. Yeah, well, for a fact, all farmers do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I have cows, the other one has cows, the other one has cows. We all have cows. We're doing the same thing. But you find that we use different methods of raising livestock. You see, maybe others prefer feeding their livestock grass throughout winter till summer. And then you find another one is using a mix of corn or crushed corn mixed with salt to feed their livestock throughout winter. Right. Maybe another one is using, what do you call these things? These things, man, of corn. What do you call these things? I know them in my mother tongue, but again, another one prefers feeding that and bale. Those big rolls of grass to their livestock in winter. And all of them, all those things that I mentioned, all those 3 different things that I mentioned, they all contribute a different, well, not a different, but a certain layer of either protein or me or muscle on your life story?
Okay, so let's go personal a little bit. It's very interesting, I must say, like, because
3 different methods used by 3 different farmers.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
And by the way, guys, like we have these discussions with Mojalefa most of the time. Like every time we meet together, we having all these discussions about business, about life, about everything. It's just that this time we decided to record it. But usually we do have these discussions. But I just feel like it would be interesting for you guys to know, like, more, not only about him, but also about what he does and so forth. Now, going personal, like,
But I think,
what,
like in agriculture, the most important thing is strategies, man.
Same in
strategies. Without strategies, you'll cry.
Same in finance, actually.
Without strategies, you'll cry. You'll cry tears.
Yeah.
Not of joy, of pain.
Yes.
Strategies are very, very important. They help you also to stay in the path of where you're trying to go and what you're trying to achieve.
So now, how do you? Let's go personal a little bit. How do you think like this as a 20-year-old? Like, because I've seen this, right? Like, usually life starts getting very serious for people in terms of like their growth and their maturity level, maybe from age 25. And you're 25 now, and it's like, what level is this? How are you thinking about these things, which are clearly not something that you woke up yesterday and then you thought, let me do them today? Like, it's things that you've been doing for years. Like, how do you get to, like, are there any personal struggles or personal things that have shaped your view of the world? And also,
okay, let me
like,
put it
personally,
like this. Let me put it like this. I've read books. Some way, somehow, those books also contributed to shifting my mind.
Because knowledge is important, right?
And then, you attend seminars where you can attend them that you find interesting. They also help, I guess, sharpen or shift your mind, open up your mind about, different things that are there, different problems, and how you can find ways or come up with different ways to solve them. And also you use YouTube. You go on YouTube, you see different podcasts, and you just find ways to use those podcasts to open up your brain, like open it up.
But that's a very challenging thought. You know why? Because it's one thing consuming, and I realize a lot, especially with people our age, right? There's a lot of consumption of content, but not everyone implements. Like, there's a lot of people on these podcasts
implementing is hard.
Which I have no issue with other people's hustles or whatever, but I just mean, like, they go on these podcasts and they share these things, but they're not doing them in their day-to-day lives. Like,
implementing is hard, Mr. David.
I know, but
it's very hard.
But then, if you go on a podcast and you're talking about something that you're not doing, like, that's also very hard to me, because it's like, why would you? You know what I mean? Like, so it comes back to that question that I was asking, because Mojalefa has been doing this for years, guys. You don't understand. Like, he's been in this agricultural space long before. I mean, we grew up in an environment where people are planting, and you can see it, but you don't really you don't put it into a cocoon of this is the whole sector, or this is a business opportunity. Like, you look at it and then you're like, oh, they're doing that to survive. But to actually put it and wrap it up in a business kind of way and actually live off it, that's something else. That's completely at a different level. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the same as someone just talking. So that's why I'm saying, like, besides what you already shared, obviously the books, and to what point was like, I have to do this. Like I can't. I think about it, but I really have to do it. Like,
Okay, let me put
when
it
did
like
that shift happen?
That shift, I guess it happened when I started. I started with planting green pepper. Well, green pepper here, for green pepper in Kwadko, for it to grow, it's your worst nightmare.
Like the weather conditions, soil, and so forth.
It's your worst nightmare. Like planting green pepper on a mountain, it's your worst nightmare. But I did plant it, and it grew, and I ate some. Very nice. For the first time in my life, eating green pepper, it was nice. Then I was like, okay, man, let me challenge myself. Let me try planting other different forms of crops and see.
And what
happens.
age was this? Like, do you remember how old you were when you
I
started?
think I was in my 22, 23, somewhere there. Because of, isn't it? Planting, like we grew up planting. Like, we grew up planting, but I began taking it, I
As a
guess,
profession.
seriously. Seriously from the perspective of an entrepreneur, from a perspective of a business, from a perspective of I can try to make a living from this. But it's not easy making a living from farming, because you only make profit when you harvest, not before. Only when you harvest, that's when you make profit. Other than that, you're joking.
This is one of the things that's important actually, because I think I have a section in Change and Power book where I talk about how entrepreneurship is it's pretty much like being a farmer like yourself. Like, you have to know the timing is very important. You need to know when to plant and when to harvest. And most people are trying to harvest when they're supposed to be planting. And it's like you can't harvest what you didn't plant. Like, and that takes a lot of patience. You see, that's another skill. Patience alone is a skill. So how did you learn that, oh, okay, I can plant something, wait for 2 months, 3 months? I'd imagine these are the turnaround periods, right?
Not 2 months.
No, for something to grow.
You have to
After
wait
something is planted.
5, 6 months.
What kind of patience is that? Like, how do you plant something and then you still have hopes for it to grow for 6 months?
You have no idea, man.
So how did you learn that patience? Where does that patience come from?
No, like I said, I was challenging myself. From time to time, I have to challenge myself. Plant something I've never planted before. And then see it grow. Like last year, December, I planted garlic. For the first time ever, I planted garlic. And it grew. I harvested garlic this year, I think around September, October.
And you just put it to market. Once you see it's working and it's there.
No, I
you
ate
start
it
selling.
for myself.
Okay.
I'm not
You
selling.
are testing the waters first.
Yeah, for myself.
You see now,
But
this
now,
adds.
garlic and beetroot are two separate crops. They're two.
So this adds to what I was saying when I was like, so how do you become innovative? Because that's an innovation, right? Like, if you testing the waters and testing the product before you go to market is something that's very important for an entrepreneur, because you can't sell something that you're not sure of. And the fact that you test it first and then eat it and then realize, oh, it's actually working. But now the turnaround time.
No, the thing is, with me trying different types of crops, it's more about diversity. Because I realized that most farmers, well, not most farmers. Yeah, in fact, let's just say most farmers, because not everyone can farm garlic. Not everyone can farm garlic. Not everyone can farm, potatoes. Other farmers prefer farming, beetroot and what do you call carrots. Not everyone. does all these different things in the same way. Because garlic is not easy to farm, because it forms a bulb, and then
Okay.
it's similar to onion. It will drive you mad before it becomes a big bulb.
How do I know that it hasn't reached its final stages of growth? Like, let's say, for example, after planting, right? I take it out and then I see that small bulb that you're talking about. How do I know this bulb is still going to grow further? Like, do I put it back, or how do I decide, okay, it's reached its full growth potential? Or, like, how do I know?
Here's how you know. You experiment. The first time you plant, you're not planting for a big harvest. You're planting as a way for you to learn. Isn't it? You've never planted it in your whole life. So you're using that experience for you to learn, so that next time when you plant it, you master it.
No, I hear you. Now, with agriculture on the side, I'm also very interested. As you can see, I keep going back to your entrepreneurship journey, because there's another layer to this, right? There's you, the professional, and then there's you, the personal. And usually the personal one is the one that builds the professional one. So I'm very interested to know, like, what are your thoughts on school, for example? Like, thoughts on, clearly, self-taught, right? You're self-taught, and that means you are very aware that knowledge is very important. But how much did education help you? Like, formal education, like, what are your views on schooling and all of these things?
That's a difficult
on that system.
That question is a very, very difficult one, because it applies in different ways.
Okay.
It applies in different ways. I can say it helped me, and then fail to explain how it helped me or how it didn't help me.
Okay, elaborate more on that.
Because of, let me put it like this. I studied business management, specializing in tourism in college, right? I have a business in agriculture, which I never studied agriculture.
And it adds on, that's a very important key, by the way, because it adds on to the fact that entrepreneurs are not made, they're born. Like, you're a born entrepreneur. And I think even if you had decided, even myself, I think, even if you decided to start in another industry tomorrow, it will still work, because it's not something that was cultivated or manufactured in a lab. Like, it's you. Your entrepreneurship, you have an entrepreneurial spirit, and that spirit works in any industry, any business. So, okay, yeah. And then what else? Like,
so
your interest in tourism, where did that come from? Like, how did you? Why
I'm not
tourism?
Sure where it comes from. But the business aspect
Of tourism.
Of tourism, that's what I love the most. And that's what I'm using also to run my business. The business aspect of what I study. Yeah.
Because it's an interesting point, right? Because tourism also is a very broad, like, in order to get people, let's say, for example, to visit a certain place, like, if you look at, like, here, the place where we grew up, it's like Cape Town, except there's no road. But literally the landscape, or how it looks, it's literally Cape Town. And you can see how in Cape Town that is very commercialized, in terms of they've built things around their mountains, for example. Hence Table Mountain, you can go to the mountain and whatever. And it's like they've made it in such a way that it's such a lucrative process. When you go to Cape Town, you know, like, okay, I'm going to engage in a lot of tourism stuff. And it's very different from here, because I don't know if there's not enough opportunities, or there's not enough economic uplift.
Here, I think the problem, when you look at it from a tourism perspective, it's lack of planning, lack of investment, and lack of economic activity. Those three.
From whose side? From private business, government, or from all sides? Like,
Well, as much as I would love to say government, but then you have to remember government's main job is to create an environment for business to thrive. If they fail to do that, then the whole thing falls.
yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Are there any other interests, personal interests that you have other than agriculture? Or
Yeah,
things that you've picked up over time or other talents?
There's a lot. There's a lot, Mr. Dave. There's so much.
Okay.
But trying to reach for those things. Yes, yes. Yeah, but it's a headache.
It's growth pains.
Yo.
It's called growth pains, right?
Yo.
Like
It's a headache.
okay. Like what? Give me an example. What other interests?
Property.
Okay.
I want to go into property in the long term. The investment industry, I want to tap into it. Which aspect of investment, I'm not 100% too sure, but tap into investment as well. Yeah, in the long term. Even though I would have to devise a strategy on how to approach. So, yeah.
When do you feel like people in your age, and also now talking to the people your age and how they've, like, you've managed to build this life around you and your interest and your hard work and everything is clearly paying off. But the people your age, like, how do you have a lot of friends that are your age, for example, firstly?
As much as I would say I don't have a lot of friends, I can say I have a lot of people that I know my age. Not a lot of friends, because the word friends to me is a very biased word. Very, very biased. Yeah.
You know, that's another very important key, guys, because when you're an entrepreneur, like most entrepreneurs, even myself included, your work somehow, or your personality somehow shifts you away from the crowd, right? Like these growth pains that we're talking about now, it's like these are things that have to happen in isolation. Like these are things that you have to like really go through on your own. Like I'm talking like, on my own personal journey, for example, like my word, I've lost things, everything, maybe 3 times. I've been homeless. You know what I mean? Like there's so many growth pains that you go through as an entrepreneur, and it's not something that it's not shared struggle that you can share with somebody else, or that you just have to outgrow people. You just have to grow yourself, and that happens very much in isolation. So that's what he's trying to say, as much as he doesn't have friends, like it's very difficult. Also, it would be difficult to connect with them, because you'd be there thinking about it. When you're an entrepreneur, you breathe, live, talk your business, and then you're gonna get there, you're gonna talk about agriculture, like, and then
it's like you have friends and you sit around the table and you're like, guys,
let's discuss money matters.
We're approaching the next planting season.
Yes.
I need to find access to water. I need to, cultivate the soil. They're gonna probably be looking at you like an idiot. Like, what is this one talking about? And then you feel like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have said anything.
Oh my god.
Because they don't understand
Yeah.
They're lost.
So what would you be a message to?
And maybe others. I'm not saying like friends or people that I know. Maybe others have the mindset of business, but they're not maybe as channeled in the same direction as me. Maybe they have their own mindsets of business or what they want to do, right? But it's not many people like who would want to go against the norm. Because it's not easy going against the norm. It's not.
Being an iconoclast.
It's like going against the norm. It's more like being not surrounded, but facing a wildfire.
Mm-hmm.
The wildfire is burning and it's coming directly to you. And you are trying to go through the wildfire to the other side.
Sounds painful.
It's painful, but as the fire approaches, you can feel it on your skin. It's hot. But you know you have to go through it. How? You don't know.
For the greater good.
But you have to go through it.
Sure. Yeah, that is something very...
So most people who want to start businesses, they run away. Why? Because it's hot. Even before the fire gets to you, you can feel it on your skin, or it's coming. And it's hot.
So most people your age, right? Like they are on their third, fourth kids. You know what I mean? Like probably they're not. Some of them are made, some of them are not made. Some of them like. When do you feel like it's the right time to settle down? Like,
okay.
For you personally, like what are your views on that?
My views.
Yeah.
I think the right time to settle down is any time really.
Okay.
But it applies differently for different people. Other people prefer settling down maybe when they have a stable job. Others want to settle down maybe when they have a car or when they have a house, or other material things. But from my view, I think when you are sure that your life, or maybe some of the things you want to achieve, you are already achieving, or found a way to achieve them, you can settle down. But also at the same time, I think settling down comes in stages. You don't want to find someone, then moving together. The next thing you are married, starting another problem on top of another one. You see, so I think it comes in stages. Yeah. But having children and settling down, it's a nightmare on its own, that one. That's why
Firstly, it's not all doom and gloom. It's not all doom and gloom. I get where you're coming from, and it's very interesting because I'm coming from a perspective of being married, kids, and all of that, and it's like it's not all doom and gloom though, but it's much harder. I'd say like it's much harder to move through that fire that you're talking about when there's already a responsibility. So it's almost as if like you're right when you say you have to try your best to achieve everything that you want, because the chances of you pursuing at a very high risk level what you want to do becomes less and less and less the more responsibilities that you have. You know what I mean? Like, so it's very interesting. So what would be your message out there for like, what is your, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now, for example?
In 5 years, well, I see my agricultural business.
Not even agriculture alone, like you, like everything that you do.
Well, I see myself achieving, let's just say, most of the things that I had planned. I see myself I guess starting businesses that I can use to empower people. Empower everyone that wants to be empowered. Empower people that have, I guess, not something to offer to only their communities, but something to offer to everyone. Yeah.
Would you say that's your legacy? That's what you want to leave behind? Like, that's what you want people to think about when they, like, when it's all said and done. Like, when they think Mojalefa Mofokeng, they should think that's your legacy. Like, that's what you want to leave behind.
Hey, I'm not sure, Mr. Dave. I'm not sure. But I think starting those businesses that I can use to empower people's life, I think that would be a legacy that I want to live with.
And brah, thank you so much for your time. Thank you. This was very informative, by the way. Like, we do have these discussions offline and other stuff that we're doing project wise offline, but it's always very interesting to know, because I like when an entrepreneur can talk like they know their business in and out, as opposed to someone, they say they have a marketing business, for example, and they know nothing about their business, and it's like, but you have a marketing business, how do you not know the whole thing?
Here's what I find very interesting. Let me tell you about entrepreneurs. The word entrepreneurs, it's a very nice word to use. I'm not sure whether the entrepreneurs, they see themselves as entrepreneurs. They have a business. They know it in and out, but it doesn't exist. And
before they implement it. Before they start implementing it. It's already done.
No, it's not implemented, but they know it in and out. And I'm like, wait. How is it that you know your business in and out?
But it doesn't exist yet.
But you haven't started it. Like, how? How?
Yeah.
Like, even for me, bro, you know how difficult it is to run a business theoretically, but it's not practical.
That sounds like it's a lot of...
How?
That's why for me, I have different ways to...
When such people speak about their businesses, in your head you can tell yourself, okay, this is an actual business. By how they speak. And then when you approach a person closely and you ask him, like, where is your business based? What do you do other than what you mentioned? And they're like, no, we haven't started production. And then you're like, wait.
It's funny because I've been in a lot of pitches.
How?
I've been in a lot of pitches where there's business plans and then this exact same thing would be happening. Like, when you start asking for the bottom line, like, okay, so I'm excited, I'm thrilled about this, let's do it. So how is this working? How do I do this? And then it's like, no, we haven't started yet, like you're saying. And it's like, it always...
How?
Yeah. But I suppose
maybe that's why they say, there are business plans that are perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But the implementation is not there.
It's crazy, because that's why I always say this thing to say, like, there's people that run.
And maybe that's why most people say when coming to business, you have to use your own money. As in, you have to use your capital to start first. So that when you speak about your business and what you do,
there's a track
you know
record.
what you are doing.
There's a track record.
You know what you're doing, like from start to end. You're not speaking over something that you've never done. But you've seen it being done, but you have never done it.
This is actually one of the challenges that are facing people that are highly educated, by the way. It's not a bad thing, but to an entrepreneur it is, in a way. Like, for example, someone that has an MBA, they're really good at running the business on paper. But if they don't have these things that we've been talking about for the past hour, it's like there's no way they're going to run your business properly. So and someone took offense to this, someone with an MBA, and I was trying to be honest with them to say, dude, like, if you were to become a CEO of one of my companies or whatever, you're gonna run it to the ground. Like, no offense to you, but you're really good at running this thing on paper, like really good. But I don't know if you're gonna be able to deal with the outside world, like the cutthroat live version of this thing that you put it in theory. So I hear you. I hear exactly what you're saying. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. But yeah, Mr. Jeff, thank you so much for your time, man. I can't wait to hear the feedback from the listeners. Obviously, this podcast will be available everywhere on all podcast channels, and we're gonna do.
Oh, one last thing to the listeners. Everything that I said on this podcast is based on my experience. My experience and perspective, and what I've done, not what I've seen somewhere being done. What I've done with my own two hands in my business.
And that is very important, because we want to interview entrepreneurs that are hands-on, like visionary people that are very involved in their businesses.
So
preferably founders also.
Yeah, when I say, like, when I speak about strategies, I know what I'm speaking of. I know.
It's not some word that you heard flying around.
It's not words that I use because it's a podcast. I know what I'm speaking of. I know how hard it is to generate one strategy and then find a way to use the very same strategy and fit it into a problem that you see in your business.
And sometimes it
and
fails,
then find a way for it to
trying.
work. And sometimes it doesn't work. It backfires. Then you have to start all over again. Sometimes you have to spend 3 weeks without focusing on the business. You just leave it as it is to cool off your head.
That's what happens in investing as well, right? Like, you have to disconnect sometimes. Sometimes you can get too much. We're not robots, you know. This thing is not for the faint-hearted. Like, especially, that's why I have to give credit to founders. Like, people that say, I started my own business and it was just an idea.
But you know, the hardest thing about starting a business, scaling.
Scale is scaling is
trying to scale your business.
It's something else. Trust me, it's something else, I know. And the problem with that is that most people, then when you meet a lot of people, like the same people that would give you business plans, or they would say, let's call you up for a meeting, like, look, I want to do this with a private equity company, I want to do this. It's because they don't have these growth pains that we talk about. They assume that to scale you only need money. They don't understand, like, and it's a problem, this thing, because Mojalefa wants to scale, right? He wants to scale, with businesses, whatever, and then according to him, he needs 10 million. Right? You give Mojalefa 10 million. Next week you see Mojalefa in Dubai on holiday. Like, Evan, what is going on here? And it's like, wait. I thought, so there's this perception to say scaling. That's why all these things that we talk about are things that we have implemented. Like, it's not like we're just throwing away that word out there, scaling. No, there's people that are running business on theory. They think if you scale, you just need money, and then boom, the business booms. And then they don't understand. No, like, money should be the last thing that you think
agriculture
you need to scale.
In agriculture, my understanding of scaling in agriculture, it's money plus production. That's how you scale. If you have money but there's no production, you're not scaling. You're in the same place. That's my understanding, my perspective when it comes to agriculture, because of your production. The more production you have means the more money you have. Right. So if you inject more money and then you add production, you use the money to maintain the production. The production that you already have on the soil,
then you can scale.
You get more money as an output.
Yes.
And then the same thing, you keep doing that. You use strategies, and then you grow the business.
Because there's no way you can implement. Like, there's no way you can. I suppose you can try, but not a lot of partners are gonna trust you. That trust aspect. It's not like no one would give you 10 million if you're running a business that doesn't exist, for example. Like there has to be those things, means to production. There has to be economic factors that will equate to saying this is why I need 10 million. And if I do get 10 million, I'm going to turn it into 20 million. You know what I mean? Like over time. Yeah. So there has to be that thing. That's why, again, in every business that you have, if on your policies or operating procedures, you need to have that blueprint to say this is the type of businesses that have to that we are interested in, or this is that blueprint scales. It helps you scale, but it also it makes you profitable, and that trust aspect though, it can take you 10 years to build trust. 10 years. It's not something that you say, okay, I'm going to write up a business plan today, tomorrow I'm going to secure 100 million. That's not how it works. It takes a long time of hard work.
You know what I do with my business?
Yeah.
I know how to draft a business plan. But what I don't like about a business plan and an actual business is
it's not
a business plan. It's like a business plan goes left and the actual business goes right.
Yeah. That's why I always say it's a genetic, it's a DNA of your business, but it shouldn't stop there. Like when you're implementing, it's going to be probably 75% of the time it's going to be opposite of what you. If you say year 1 I'm going to make 100,000, year 2 I'm going to make 200,000, year 3 that's when I'm thriving, 500,000, and you might find the first 2 years of your business are critical for survival. Because you might not even be profitable in those 2 years. Like, so
you might find that you only have operating capital.
Yeah.
Just to operate the business, not make
profit, no nothing.
Profit. Yeah, you don't even get paid.
Yeah.
You just run the business.
And that's another important key aspect to entrepreneurship, because before you start paying yourself, sometimes it takes years, you know that. Sometimes you can even have employees, but you're still not getting paid as the owner of the business. Like, it's very difficult. Like, that's why we're saying it's not for the faint heart. It's not for everyone. Either you're called for this thing or you're not. But there's no way you're gonna be able to do this thing properly. But yeah, thank you, Mr. Jeff.
Now join us on the next episode. Thank you.